Welcome to The Lowdown, the newest podcast from Belden Communications, hosted by yours truly, Wayne Belden, president of Belden Communications, and co-hosted by my son, John Belden, vice president of Belden Communications. Listen to The Lowdown as John and I chat and get candid with those in the know about the hottest issues affecting all of us in Volusia and Flagler counties. We'll sometimes be direct, get loud, and sometimes hilarious, but always educational and informational about the challenging aspects of issues facing us all. Which topics will we cover, and who will be our guests? Well, you can bet it will be someone who can have a direct impact on the subject we're talking about. You can hear and watch our podcast live on Facebook on a pre-announced date each month. Be sure to tune in because whatever topic we're covering, we'll be giving you The Lowdown. Welcome to The Lowdown, a podcast created with you in mind. This is where we talk about issues with pertinent guests that affect all of us in Volusia and Flagler counties. We hope that you'll be able to have guests on our podcast with direct influence on the issues at hand and get something done, or at least help to get some issues resolved. So let's get things started by introducing my co-host, my son John, who's vice president of Belden Communications. John, welcome to the program, The Lowdown.
Thank you so much. I'm happy to be here. Happy Friday to you there, Pop.
Yep, we've got a long weekend coming up, don't we?
That's it. It's exciting.
Yep, absolutely. Today's podcast is brought to you by Country Inn & Suites by Radisson in Port Orange. John, please tell our listeners all about today's sponsor, if you will.
Absolutely, guys. You want to go ahead and soak up the Florida sun at Country Inn & Suites by Radisson in Port Orange. Conveniently located just off I-95 and only minutes from the beach. Country Inn & Suites by Radisson Port Orange makes a great launching pad for your Florida's beach vacation. The whole family can play in the surf at beautiful New Smyrna Beach or enjoy roller coasters and go-karts at Daytona Beach's 3 amusement parks, all less than 12 miles from the hotel. And guess what, guys? NASCAR fans, you won't miss the races at the iconic Daytona International Speedway, while bargain hunters can score deals at nearby Tanger outlets. There's something for anyone and everyone, only minutes from the hotel. For more information, book your stay now at portorangeconnection.com/Country Inn & Suites. Of course, with us today also is our producer, Phil Bird. How you doing there, Mr. Phil?
Hey, everybody. I am an animal lover, so I am here to learn all about Volusia County Services.
Well, you are an animal.
That's right. Well, today we're honored to have as our guest Adam Leath, Director of Volusia County Animal Services. Adam, welcome to The Lowdown.
Thanks so much, Wayne. It's nice to be here, and thanks again, John, for having me.
Absolutely.
Yeah, excellent. This is something that we've been wanting to do for a long time. We have a lot of people in the Daytona Beach area that have pets, and we wanted to bring to light some things that maybe folks don't know, and more importantly, give them a place to go if they got any questions or if they have any kind of problems that they need to get taken care of. And the first thing I want to go into and discuss is the new anti-tethering ordinance that's been adopted here in July, just last month. A new animal control ordinance was adopted by the Volusia County Council on June 7th, prohibiting the tethering of animals for long periods, declawing cats, the retail sale of pets, and safeguards against mistreatment and abandonment of animals in unincorporated Volusia County. What other provisions are included in this ordinance?
It's a great question, Wayne, and I really appreciate you asking. So we proposed 10 new sections. There were some additional edits that we wanted to modernize based upon some updated best practices. But of those most notable, we have the anti-tethering, as you mentioned, mistreatment, abandonment, the dangerous dog provisions. There were some additional things that we wanted to safeguard to provide protections to the public when there are issues relating to public safety and health of aggressive dogs in our community. Also, our countywide pet licensing program. So we want to make sure that pets are vaccinated and microchipped, but also licensed countywide. We also added some provisions on guard dogs and how they would be used and how we wanted to protect the public in regards to those situations. Animals in motor vehicles, as you mentioned, the prohibition of declawing of cats. There's also some interesting patterns we're seeing in collateral pet transactions, which we can talk a little more about in a minute. And then we also have the prohibition of retail sale of dogs and cats.
Okay, a lot going on there, huh?
There's a lot to unpack. It's been about 15 plus years since the last time we had been able to revise the ordinance. And so we're really supportive of county council support as well as the initiative of the public. This was really in a response to the needs of the community.
Okay. Are there any safeguards in place for Good Samaritans?
Well, there are a lot of safeguards for Good Samaritans. If Good Samaritans end up finding dogs locked in a motor vehicle, for instance,
right.
We have a state statute that provides some protection as long as you contact law enforcement. So if you're ever curious as to where that's at for you in your area, just call 911. Let them know you have a dog that's locked in a vehicle. As long as you've made that notification, all attempts then can be made to safely remove the dog from that vehicle.
So I shouldn't just bust out somebody's window. I should call first, but then you give me the go-ahead.
In order for you to have that full protection of the statute, you definitely need to make sure there's notification to
Understood.
that agency.
All right, I'm going to keep a crowbar or something
Okay.
in my car.
What are the penalties for those found in violation of that ordinance?
So the new ordinance, and in all ordinances within the state of Florida, your maximum civil penalty is $500. So now, again, these are separate from our state statutes, which are governing the entire state, but these are very specific to the unincorporated areas of Volusia County.
Uh-huh. Okay. Only 4 municipalities, Ormond Beach, Deltona, Holly Hill, and Daytona Beach, have an anti-tethering ordinance. What should residents who reside outside of these municipalities do if they need to file a report?
Well, it's always important that you know the number to call in your community. We've really been very fortunate to have that available to us here in Volusia County. Our central dispatch number, which is 386-248-1777, you can contact and they will direct you to the most appropriate jurisdictional agency. So It doesn't matter whether you're in the city or the county, they know and can direct you where to go.
Okay. In case somebody was listening and wasn't quite armed, would you mind giving that number one more time?
Absolutely. That's 386-248-1777.
It's pretty simple.
Yeah. That's simple enough.
You mentioned earlier. You said that it blocks the retail sale of pets. That means I can't buy a dog off of Craigslist.
So it does not apply to individual transactions.
Okay. So,
but there's some state statutes that are applying there. You have to make sure that the dog has a health certificate so that it doesn't have any medical issues, and there's a specific form that your vet has to fill out. But we're talking about retail locations. So you couldn't go into a local store and buy a dog or a cat.
Like puppy pals.
Well, what it does say, though, is that we want to encourage them to bring animals from the local shelter. We have more than enough of them, unfortunately. Okay. And you see a lot of really very successful brands like PetSmart, Petco. They do this all the time where they'll bring in rescues, they'll bring in local humane societies. It's a great venue to find a new four-legged member of your family. But we want to try to encourage the adoption rather than the sale of dogs and cats because we already have too many in Volusia County.
Gotcha. See, that's exactly what I was thinking about. I was like, wait a second, I've seen dogs and cats in these stores, but they are all adoptions, come to think of it. They're not just selling high price, here's a dog for $1,000. That's a good thing that you guys, I like that. It's good.
It's also important to know, too, that for those retailers who are thinking about this out there, that these large giants are giants for a reason. This is a successful business model.
Yeah.
They make their lion's share of their profits through all of the products that are needed to support those pets. They're not trying to make money on the individual pet itself.
So more stores could be offering, like Kohl's, that's been in trouble in the news financially. They could start offering, apparently from what you're saying, they could be offering animals for adoption. That's just another reason to get foot traffic in there.
Another successful one has been a lot of the cat cafes. I don't know if you've seen those a lot out there.
I've heard of them, but I've never
You can go get coffee at the cat cafe where they've got cats just sort of roaming about. All of them are available for adoption, and it's a huge attractor for local businesses.
That's cool.
Where are they?
Cappuccino.
I haven't seen them.
I've seen, there's one in Daytona Beach, I think. I've read of one in the paper.
We've got a couple around the state, but they're becoming more and more popular with each community because people do want to come in and casually get a cup of coffee, and who doesn't want to get a cup of coffee with a cat? I would love to have a conversation if they were able to. I'd love to know what they're thinking.
Me too. I want to know exactly what cats are thinking. I watch them, and I'm amazed by their behavior and the things that they do.
Well, my cat stares at me side-eye, so I'm curious what she's thinking too. But I think I know the answer.
One time, you remember Rocco. We had Rocco.
Tuxedo cat.
Right. And I rescued him. I found him out. Somebody dumped him off the interstate. They didn't want to carry him anymore, so they dumped him, and he was sitting there, and I saw that. I pulled over and got him and became a very, very good pet. But I remember sitting one time on the couch and watching him, and we had the glass sliding door, and he thought that the door was open, and he walked into it. And he reacted in a way as if, like, oh, I was scheduled to do that.
Yeah,
you know,
that was on purpose, totally.
He didn't want to be embarrassed by it because he knew I was sitting there. And I just thought, these are amazing creatures. What they're thinking, I'd like to know what they're thinking.
Those of you for listening, I mean, that's something that, remember, adopt pets, because that pet right there, Rocco, was, I tell people, he was a street fighter because he came in and took over that house quickly. But one of the smartest cats I've ever seen in my life, most lovable cats, and this was just something from the street. Now, there's avenues. I'm not telling you to go just to get random cats behind a Hardee's or something, but adopting a pet is very important.
Rescued is the best breed.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, dogs have friends and cats have servants. It's just the way
yeah,
it's
man,
the way it
you
works.
hit that right on the head.
Yeah, you got that right.
Wow.
I never thought of it like that.
So
but
do
that
wives.
fits. Yeah, absolutely. How can residents get involved to have an ordinance adopted if there's not one in their municipality?
Well, it's a great question, and we really want to encourage those that are very concerned about the plight of animals. I think we should all be concerned about the plight of animals, but I think it's important to recognize that it's not just animal welfare, but animal welfare coincides with a lot of other socioeconomic hardships. So if we're looking at an area that, for instance, may have a number of concerns where their pets are not receiving care, they're not receiving adequate resources, it's quite likely that there's co-occurrences of vulnerable adults or children who may not also be getting resources. An example could be we respond to homes where there are allegations that animals are not receiving care, and we routinely find that there are other dynamics at play. In fact, we are mandatory reporters of child abuse and abuse of the elderly. We find that animal cruelty actually co-occurs with a lot of other just general destabilizing community aspects. So what I would encourage people to do is get connected, get involved, talk with your elected officials, and then understand the scope of the problem. I would say that oftentimes what you may understand about the problem may not be the full story. So I would always ask you to reach out and ask questions, just like this show here. I would love the opportunity to talk with any of your guests to gain a better understanding of their concerns so that they can also understand the system in general, right, and then how they might be able to be plugged in to help. Volunteering, picking up a shovel, there's a lot of work that's being done out there by a lot of very talented people.
And you pick up, you're so right, because I'll give you an example. The declawing of cats. I didn't realize, it was just one of those things I thought you did when you got a cat. And we have 2 cats that we rescued. Both of them are rescues. Beautiful cats. One of them's got a wonky eye and this, that, but was the best cat ever. And anyhow, we went to talk to the vet about declawing. And I learned very quickly they don't do that anymore. It's actually outlawed because there's a lot of pain that goes in with that. I didn't know that. Honest to God, I would never do anything that would just intentionally harm an animal. I thought it was something that saved my furniture, and it was something that was good to do for the cat. And then I learned, I said, no, it's actually illegal now. And it's changed because years ago you could get it done.
I was told they don't have nerves in there.
Bingo. That's what they sell you on. But and not only that, but after they do the declawing, they get pain because if they jump down, they can bust it back open again. It's very painful. So these are things that I think is important. People don't realize, they don't have the knowledge to go, wait a second, that's just not something you're supposed to do anymore. And
you're correct. There are a number of reasons why we would be concerned about it happening. It's actually amputating their first full digit. So if you think about your hand and every single one of your fingers, amputating the first knuckle down. So you're essentially walking on your first digit. Yeah. And while that doesn't seem like a big deal to you, I would imagine that it's pretty impactful to the cat, not only from the standpoint for the reasons that you described, but here's the other thing. If they are ever outside, they get separated from you, there's
no way to defend themselves.
Nothing that they can do. Yeah. So it's really just in today's time, really there are so many other alternatives that would be better that can still accomplish the same thing without having to unfortunately, put a lot of pain and stress upon the pet.
Let's call it what it is. You're amputating your cat's feet. You're a part of them. They're part of, you know what I mean? So that's, it opened my eyes to go, wait a second, I never really thought about it, but it's not really the correct, and there are methods I've learned about. Like the cat that we have, I don't know why I'm forgetting the breed, but she's got 7 nails.
Polydactyly?
Maybe. But she's got 7 per foot, and one of her feet, she has an 8th claw in her palm, and we constantly have to take her to the vet because it's not easily to trim it. But I found that they can do things by laser, and it's not as abrasive as just declawing your cat. So it's, again, these are interesting things to follow this and find out that there are better ways and more humane ways.
Well,
Absolutely.
that's the whole reason for which we produce a program like the Lowdown, is that we're hoping that there's a lot of people out there that want to have pets, okay, that need to understand that there is a lot of responsibility that goes with having a pet, that you have to take care of it, and we're hopeful that through programs like the Lowdown that people are going to become educated, and that will help them become a much better pet owner.
Yep.
So recently, Volusia County Animal Services was awarded a $10,000 grant from Franklin's Friends, a nonprofit organization supporting animal welfare programs in the 8-county Central Florida area, which includes Volusia County. Thanks to this grant, the Volusia County Animal Services can begin to waive the $45 fee incurred by residents of the different municipalities who drop off community cats for the TNR program. Is that correct?
That is correct. So we're very fortunate. I think that Volusia County is incredibly resource rich in terms of where we put animal welfare on the map. From our elected officials all the way down to those that are providing direct care, animal welfare is a priority in Volusia. And I can say that strongly because I see it in action every day. We are very fortunate to have a high-quality, high-volume spay-neuter clinic. It's only about 100 yards directly behind me here, and we do about 30 surgeries a day.
Wow.
We're very fortunate to also say that in our TNR, that's our community cats, so those cats that are sort of roaming and milling about, they may be owned by somebody, maybe they're not, who knows. But what we don't want is for them to continue to reproduce. So we want to bring them in, sterilize them, vaccinate them, and then put them back to wherever they went.
Okay.
Right.
For TNR, for those of you who may not know, means trap, neuter, and return.
Correct. And it's oftentimes referred to as trap, neuter, vaccinate, and return.
Right.
Because we do want to make sure, rabies is endemic in our community, so we want to make sure we vaccinate them as well. But we provide those sterilizations for community cats free of charge to the unincorporated
Wow,
area.
that's important for everybody to know.
Free of charge. Yes. So for those that are in the cities, though, because we're an MSD fund, so the cities don't actually pay into that fund, we do charge a fee for service for those others. So we don't want those cities to have to find it difficult, again, just like owners, to find the funding. So we're trying to find other innovative ways to still provide the service while not always having to pass that cost along. So we're very fortunate that Franklin's Friends has provided us this very generous grant so that we can make the TNR services available to those citizens in the cities as well as the unincorporated.
Okay, what exactly is Franklin's Friends? I know it's for a nonprofit organization.
They do. They're a nonprofit organization in Central Florida. They work on a lot of major animal welfare initiatives, but they're just an immense, dedicated organization that does a lot of very great work in philanthropy here in Central Florida.
Wow.
It's important.
Really fantastic. So people, they can bring their cat or their dog here and you would neuter it for them?
So our clinic, which I encourage anyone, if you're ever interested, I love to show it off because I'm so proud of the work that's being done there. But we do have the ability to do 30 surgeries a day. So we have 2 veterinarians and we have a support staff that keeps up with a multitude of surgeries in a single day. If you've never seen 30 dogs and cats in a single room, much less all of them having surgery,
wow.
it's quite an orchestrated event, let me tell you. So yes, we do provide that as a fee for service. That fee for service is quite low and very reasonable. In fact, if you are on any type of public assistance, we even reduce that fee by 50%. So our most expensive surgery is $115.
Wow.
If you were on public assistance, we would chop that in half.
Wow.
All of the other surgeries are reduced because we really want to make sure that it's affordable, that people can get access to it. And it shows because we have a lot of grant agencies, we have a lot of outside agencies contacting us saying, hey, how do you do that? And how can we do that? So we're very fortunate here in Volusia to have this resource for the people and their pets.
Wow. And that's really great for everybody to know that you're here for that and can do that to help them.
Are there things in place? Maybe I'm going in a wrong area, but for somebody that is maybe acquiring too many pets, and look, we want to help you, but it's also self-inflicted. You keep adding and keep adding. Is there some kind of
limit,
safeguard for that, so to speak?
So there are safeguards. If there's ever, I would say now, if anyone's listening and they have concerns about animal welfare, it's always important that you make the phone call because you don't have to be right. You just have to make the call.
Right.
We're here to make sure that doesn't matter whether you're right or wrong. We just need the information.
Right.
So that's what you pay us to do, and that is we take very seriously to go out into the community and look out for the welfare of animals and protect the concerns of the citizens. So yes, if there is someone who may have more pets than they can provide resources for, we would approach that in a number of different ways. It would depend on how many animals they have, what species they are. We deal with hoarding cases. We deal with animal fighting cases. We deal with a number of different types of animal cruelty investigations here within the county. But we really try to spend the majority of our time on the proactive side of that. Upstream, how can we get people and the resources directly in the community so that we can get the resources directly to them? And we can talk more about that. But with our launch of our new mobile spay-neuter hospital, that's exactly what's going to happen.
Yeah, that's exciting. Tell us about that.
Yeah, tell us about that.
So the county council was incredibly supportive and was able to approve the procurement of a new mobile unit. You talked about the Arnie Foundation before. So our program started, it was almost 20 years ago now, I can't believe it's been that long, where it was just a mobile bus. We were driving, and that was the only location we could provide surgery. And they were doing about 3,000 surgeries a year on that bus. And like with all things, it breaks down over time. So it ended its usable life, and we moved into a stationary clinic, which is what I talked about behind me. Well, we found that we have had such an overwhelming need because we've added the access to the cities to get access to our services that sometimes we have a waiting list that's far too long. I mean, we've had, unfortunately, sometimes where it's a month or longer. That's too long. So how do we reduce that? Well, we want to get the resources directly to the people. So we've now procured a new mobile hospital. It's being built by LeBoyd Industries in Columbus, Ohio. It's a purpose-built unit where we can do 30 surgeries anywhere without being connected to any electrical supply. It has its own power supply.
Nice.
And we can set it up in any parking lot in the whole county and do sterilization for people and their pets right there in their parking lot.
Do you guys have like a jingle like the ice cream man when you're coming by for all the?
Wait till you see the mobile unit.
It's funny.
It looks, you won't be able to miss it. It looks quite fantastic. I can't wait to see it.
So I can call you up and say, I want my cat spayed. Can you come here and...
Absolutely. I have a better option for you. You don't even have to call. You can make an appointment online at volusia.org/animal services. You can do it from the comfort of your own home, 24 hours a day. Make your appointment directly online. You don't even have to call us.
But you're not rolling up to somebody's house, right? Normally you're like, hey, we're at this plaza today. Bring your animals.
Correct. So what we're really trying to do is we're using data. And I think oftentimes our industry doesn't use data enough. But rather than just saying, hey, we got somebody over here that wants us to park it there, what if we parked it in an area where we knew the need was the highest?
Right.
So what we've done, and we've worked with our partners at GIS with the county, studies have shown that our resources are needed most often where we've got communities that have a disproportionately high number of animals being brought to the shelter. So there's a whole bunch of strays coming from there. Well, that's an area that I need to be focused on.
Right.
Well, what about the low and no income areas where there's really not a lot of resources for people? Well, that's an area I should be focused on.
Right.
And then on top of that, what if there's no veterinarian in my community? What if I got to travel, 15, 20 minutes in the opposite direction to try to get to a veterinarian? So we looked at those three factors and overlaid those together and found our distinct areas of high need. So those areas where we can get our maximum return, where we know if we show up there, we're going to help more animals and we're going to have an impact on the areas that we're looking at the most. So that's where we're going to be parking those units.
People don't think about that because I'm from Port Orange. There's a vet, it seems like on every corner. But there are areas that you really don't have those kind of resources. So again, this is very important. This is a good thing that tax dollars go to and donations and things of that nature.
We want to work smarter, not harder. It's not just about what's most convenient, but what does the data tell us? This is a business. We want to make sure that we're running it as efficiently. I mean, we are a steward of the taxpayers' dollars. We should make sure that we're using those as efficiently as possible.
Wow. Let me ask you this. We recently we do a podcast down in Brevard County, and we recently had the executive director of Brevard Bed and Biscuits, and this is a doggy and cat hotel where visitors can come down and bring their pets.
Very cool.
Do we have anything like that in Volusia County?
I don't. There are a number of pet-friendly hotels in the area. There are some bed and breakfasts that also allow pets. I'm not as familiar enough with that specific business, but I know that we have a lot of local businesses that are very pet-friendly.
Yeah, right. She's with the Brevard Humane Society.
Okay.
And then she got funding to build the Brevard Bed and Biscuit.
Oh,
and
okay.
It's like think of a nicer, I don't want to use the word nicer, but a more family-friendly version of a kennel.
Okay.
So when you come in, the floor is painted green like grass, and there's TVs in the rooms for the animals, and there's just like it's
And
a whole nother
and they
level.
teach them to surf.
Yeah.
They even have an actual surfing tournament for the dogs.
Oh,
I can't
yeah,
believe I
yeah.
haven't been there. I'm going to go this weekend.
I can't surf, and then when you see dogs that can do it, it's like, wow, I'm behind the 8 ball.
Yeah,
So
yeah. I thought that's pretty ingenious, and they make reservations just like you would make a reservation for. They make reservations online for their dog or their cat, and we were amazed when we saw them, and they were happy. I mean, the animals were
fantastic.
happy. It was they were in their own little resort, and it was really kind of cool.
That's why it's important to have services like we're talking about today, because pets are part of the family. They're not just a animal in the corner.
And pets really, I mean, we spend more on pet food than we do on baby food in the U.S.
Wow, yeah.
And I'll tell you, there's so many different ways in which pets are sort of interwoven into our family dynamic. And we start thinking about even issues of domestic violence. And believe it or not, a lot of times victims of domestic violence delay even leaving the home because they're afraid that they have a pet behind.
Yeah.
We're in disaster season right now. I mean, look what's happening in many major storms. People don't want to leave because they have pets at their home and they don't know what to do with them.
I've seen people run into fires, buildings on fire because they're animal.
They are a part of the family unit.
Yep.
Yeah. Earlier we were talking about the TNR program. What is the process the community cats go through in the TNR program?
It's a great question, and I would love to have anyone by so that you can see it. It is, I equate it as an easier, almost like an assembly line. So there's a station and a stage in which the cat goes through. So they go through an induction phase, which is what we do with all of our patients. After they're fully examined by our veterinary team, they'll be anesthetized. They'll go through and be intubated, and then go through under surgical intervention by a licensed veterinarian, a spay or a neuter. Both procedures are relatively non-invasive. They've really been shown to be the best way to reduce our pet overpopulation. And while they're with us, we also vaccinate them. And if we see things like fleas or if we see things like ear mites, we'll also treat those as well. And then what's also important is that in our community cats, we don't want to keep trapping the same cat over and over again. So we'll actually what's referred to as tip the ear. So if you ever look at a cat straight on and you see just the very top part of that left ear just cut off, it's because it's already been sterilized before.
Really?
So if you have a lot of these people who are out there who are catching, and we do have a lot of our trappers who bring in cats to us every time that we do our TNR days. And when they're coming in, if we see an ear tip, we know right away we don't need to put that cat under anesthesia. We don't need to go through that process.
Do other areas do that? Is that like a universal kind of code that you all can home look at your cats and see?
It is a nationally recognized universal sign of sterilization for
I'm
community
gonna go
cats.
check that out when I get home because, like I said, I got 2 rescues. And one of them, she's awesome, but she's definitely, she's the special child that we.
Sure.
And I wonder. That's interesting to look at that.
Now, our personal pets, what's important there is identification. I cannot underscore. Like, dogs don't have opposable thumbs, but if we give them a microchip, they can call home. It's very easy. You can even get one from us. We do it every Wednesday. You can set an appointment with us online, or we have our large drive-through events where, I don't know if you've seen as many as 300 pets get microchipped in a single day, but that's what we do. It's that important. So a pet that's identified is a pet that gets to go back home.
Right.
A pet that has no form of ID, where does it go? It goes into our system that costs additional funds, that does not have a guaranteed outcome, that's more stressful to the family, it's more stressful to the pet. So if we do our own part, especially during hurricane season, when who knows when we're going to get separated, we can get that microchip and it's a free call home.
I mean, people buy those little. I just got one the other day for something from my computer, a tile. So if you lose something, you put this tile on your object and you can find it on your phone. Bingo. So if we're doing that right here for our keys, do it for your pet. Come on, guys. I mean, this is a simple. It's your children. Your pets are your children.
Well, hopefully people that are listening are learning a lot today, because I certainly am. I had no idea all these things that you guys do out here. There's certainly no excuse for not taking care of your pet properly in Volusia County, as far as I can see.
We really want to be your county pet resource center. We want you to let us know if you've got a situation. If you're finding it difficult to provide food for your pet, or your pet has some medical issue that you can't afford, we don't want to see pets suffer. Now, we also, are not and we're not interested in taking business away from our private veterinarians. We don't compete in any way. In fact, the majority of the people who come to us may not have the ability to get to a private veterinarian or have the resources to pay for those visits. Right. But we do have a lot of emergency situations that pop up, or some of our homeless population who own pets as well. So we see a lot of people who really do need those resources.
Yeah. Now, do you have vets actually on staff?
We have 2 full-time veterinarians and we have 2 contract veterinarians.
Wow.
Wow. So what are you supposed to do if you do lose a pet? Like, I know this, people put their signs up, but like, can they come to you guys and say, hey, I lost my dog. Can you help me out here, or what?
The best thing they can do is to go on the website. So that's volusia.org/animal services. If we did encounter your pet, we take photographs of every single pet that comes in. So
Great.
As soon as we pick it up, we take a photo. It goes right on the website. So you can immediately see if it's something that we've interacted with. It's on our website. If it's not on our website, we didn't interact with it.
Didn't know that. That's awesome.
And then also, there's a lot of shelters in our area. We have the Halifax Humane Society, Southeast Volusia Humane Society, New Hope Animal Shelter on the west side, and then Edgewater Animal Shelter for those citizens in Edgewater. All of those shelters are their own business, their own nonprofit. So depending upon where you live and depending upon where your city may or may not contract with, your pet could end up in one of those 4 shelters, which is why it's really not the best practice to kind of roll the dice and hope that your pet doesn't get lost, because I would just assume that it's a possibility and just get it microchipped now.
Yes. There's no excuse for that.
Yeah. I think you're absolutely right. No sense to take chances. Go ahead and get it microchipped, and you can all rest easy, and your cat can be happy and always.
It doesn't hurt them.
Yeah.
It doesn't hurt them.
And the initiative that we launched with our fire rescue, I don't know if you saw our fire scan and rescue, actually made International Firehouse Magazine. So we ended up equipping all of our county fire stations with microchip scanners. So if you, in your community, find a dog that's running around somewhere, just take it to the local fire station. They can scan it for you. If it's got a microchip, well, then we can have the owner come pick it up right away. We don't even have to use taxpayer dollars to respond out, pick it up, and then bring it somewhere else.
What data is actually on the microchips, though?
That's like your address and stuff, right?
No, the microchip only has a string of numbers. That's it. So that string of numbers corresponds to a national database.
Oh, I'm sorry. I meant on the computer. So you're saying
on the computer. Yeah. The chip itself just has a barcode. So there is no way that as an individual, even if you had a microchip scanner, you would know who that dog belongs to. We have a database, a countywide database, but nationally is also registered, where anyone who has a microchip can report their pet as lost, or if we find them, we have access to who those numbers are registered to.
Now, I've registered my animals, and if I'm not mistaken, aren't there like several different companies?
There are a number of
Doesn't that get confusing?
It can get confusing. The AHA microchip lookup, which is the American Animal Hospital Association, you can type in your pet's number and it'll tell you what microchip company that is registered with. That's one quick and easy way to do it.
Good.
But the bigger challenge is that even owners who have their pets microchipped don't always keep the information updated. Right. I mean, you rented, you changed phone numbers, you moved, whatever the case may be. If you don't keep that updated, it's like having your car registered but never registering it again.
Yeah.
They only know the last bit of information that you left with them.
So how do you update that information if you do move?
So you contact the microchip company, whichever microchip company is registered with your microchip, and you can update that information directly with them.
But that's good to know, because I actually specifically had the situation where we forgot which company. I had a dog named Scooby. He was a good dog. He was a good dog, man. Little Yorkie type thing. But we couldn't remember when we moved because we wanted to update their address.
Right.
And we said, I don't remember which company he's registered with. And we didn't know that there was another company, another website you could say, hey, you're registered over here. I wish I would have known.
Yeah, give that website again. AHA.
Yeah, it's the American Animal Hospital Association. So that's AAHA, microchip lookup.
That's awesome.
Okay, excellent.
Yeah, very good.
Very good. I want to get back to cats again. Cats are very a mystique to me, and I just love them. I love all animals, but cats really intrigue me. What other services do cats receive, and how long are they generally in care of animal care clinic before they're returned to their removal location?
It's a great question. So we do a lot of services. We have individuals who might come in for spay or neuter, and in the majority of cases, they're dropped off and surgery is performed and returned the same day.
Nice.
So you would drop off. In fact, every morning, if you drive by our office, you'll see a line of cars around the block. That's our drive-through check-in process. They'll come in. They're examined, weighed. The veterinarian looks to make sure that there's not any underlying medical concerns and that the patient is safe. It's safe for them to go under and be able to receive the procedure. Then when they go through and finish the procedure, they're recovered and then are sent back home with either medications, if necessary, and additional registration information. So it's really only a single day. Drop off and pick up the same day.
Wow, that's impressive.
Wow, yeah.
And for the quantity that you guys are doing, if you do the math, it's an 8-hour day, and you're doing. I mean, that's several an hour.
We're about 5,000 a year is what we're looking at this year. So we really have been very busy.
Wow.
You know, I can hear people, you know, out there are listening right now asking, where is this place?
Yeah.
Well, we hope that you can't miss our building. We intentionally painted it the color of a rainbow. My thought was that you'd be able to see it like the Griswold's family Christmas when lit up at Christmas time. So it's painted multicolored. It's right at the corner of Indian Lake and Tiger Bay Road. That's 1250 Indian Lake Road, right on the corner there. And it's a multicolored building with dogs and cats all over the side of it, paw prints everywhere, and signs to direct you where to go.
Guys, what on 92, and you're going to go west of 95. It's only what?
About 2-3 minutes.
Yeah, but it's just just a mile and change.
It's like you're headed toward the land.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And it's right out here, and what a facility.
Yeah.
You guys don't cut any corners, which I love. That's awesome.
Does Volusia County Animal Services help provide traps for residents to catch community cats?
We do offer that service. So if you need a trap, we do offer. There is a trap deposit if we need to send those out. Sometimes they don't come back, so if people decide to hold on to them, we don't want to have to keep purchasing them over and over again. So yes, we do collect the deposit, but they do have the ability to get a trap directly from us.
And what are some tips or tricks that we can use when trying to catch a community cat?
Oh, how much time do we have? This could be a whole micro session.
Milk.
So it really just depends. Not all traps are treated equally either. Some of them are very trap savvy, especially if they've tried and weren't caught by a trap before. They're going to be very trap shy. So we oftentimes will use different types of foods. The smellier, the better, I'll tell you. The smellier tuna fish is great.
Really?
You know, anything that is really smelly, especially fish, they really like.
Is that why my cat hangs around me all the time?
Oh, John.
Nice. Well, we use all kinds of different things, depending upon, you know, we also try to camouflage the trap a bit too, because we don't want the cat to not want to go in there. But it's really important, though, if you are interested and you are trying to trap for a sterilization, that you're not feeding elsewhere, because then there's no motivation for the cat to go in the trap. If your neighbor is trying to trap, you know, and you're someone who's always putting food out for them, it's kind of like you're competing with one another.
That's a good point.
Yeah, if you are trapping in that neighborhood, it's best not to feed and to let them go into those traps.
Okay. Let's get back to your mobile hospital that we spoke about earlier. Will appointments be required for that?
Yes, just like we do for our stationary clinic now, you'll be able to make an appointment as well for our mobile clinic. And we'll be posting where it will be located, because ideally we'll make it, you know, simple and convenient for individuals. But it also will depend, again, we want to be responsive to the need. So we don't want to say hard and fast, it's always going to be on this exact time. We're never going to move it around. We really want to move it to where the need exists.
So it's going to be appointment-based and not a first-come, first-served type thing.
That is correct. Now, there are some first come, first serve that we are beginning to do with our TNR program. So if those individuals who are looking to have their community cat sterilized, we are going to be opening up on our TNR Tuesdays for us to be able to do first come, first serve.
Right.
Is the bus going to be multicolored too?
It is actually very island themed. There are palm trees, there are dogs all over the side. In fact, if you'd like to see a picture of it, I can pull it up. Right
Yes,
now.
that'd be pretty cool. a rainbow one. And no, I like the island type thing. That's very Floridian, so that's good. It'll make the animals feel comfortable going on it.
I'm glad you said that, you know, that gave us the description, because I did see that, and I thought that had something to do with the LGBT community.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that's true.
No, I did. I thought, you know.
Well, that's kind of like a universal thing. So.
Yeah. I always want to know, we talked a lot about dogs and cats, but what about like those other animals, Adam?
So there are a lot of species in our communities. So we talk about dogs and cats. That's what we primarily focus on. I mean, it would be very difficult for us to say we are all animals and all services. There's not a budget or a building big enough to handle that in any community.
Yeah.
So we really do try to focus on domestic animal issues. When we do have issues of public safety, when we start thinking about nuisance wildlife, or we start talking about lots of other species that are not dogs and cats, it may or may not involve animal services. It really just kind of depends on what species we're talking about. We're not removing bats in your belfry or bees in the attic, but we would respond to a situation where, for instance, there might be chickens or other types of
Snakes?
issues. If there are venomous snakes, and if there's a venomous snake at a daycare center, for instance, or something like that, but we try not to get in, because we have wildlife removal services here in the county.
Gotcha.
Yeah, we have more than 4 different companies that do that as a for-profit business.
'Cause I don't do snakes.
Well, the reason why I brought that
Yeah.
up is because, you know, some people have like 20 snakes,
No.
you know, at their house.
Nope.
You know, so
And that's why we got the problem that we've got down in South Florida.
And we know you don't bring those on a
all
plane.
right, hold that
wow.
hold that up to your camera there. I'll be able to zoom in there.
There you go.
Okay.
Excellent.
That's the design of the bus.
That's the bus.
Wow.
Oh, it's like an ad on a, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a 38-foot state-of-the-art
see, I didn't
facility.
see the actual illustration around it of the truck. Now I see it.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
We're very excited. Very fortunate.
That's gonna catch people's eye. That's for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we do have a lot of exotic pets that do come in at our microchip clinics. When we do offer those as drive-through, we partner with FWC, our Florida Wildlife Conservation Commission. There are a number of species that are now prohibited for ownership unless they are microchipped, and we work directly with any pet that's owned by someone. We want to make it microchipped, because there's really, I mean, it's a free call home, so it doesn't matter to us. It's safe to microchip most all species, and so we want to make sure that we get those resources as well. So we do interact with them in that regard, but we really do try to focus our resources on domestic pets.
Right. You know, I need to go back to microchipping, because when you produce a program like this, you start using terms whenever, just whatever the topic is, that, and you just assume everybody knows what you're talking about. So when you say use a term like microchipping, we're in somewhat remiss, because somebody's maybe out there asking, what is microchipping? So I'm going to give you the opportunity to explain that.
Sure. Thank you, Wayne. I appreciate that. And as John mentioned before, he was talking about the little tag that you can follow around. This microchip is not a GPS tracker. So if you call me and say, hey, I want to know where my dog Scooby is, he just got lost, I'm going to say, well, I hope someone scans him. I hope someone finds him. I'm not going to be able to tell you exactly where he's at. And believe it or not, that's actually something that make people hesitate to get microchips, because they think that the government's somehow going to know where their pets are at any given time, and maybe know where they are. But you know, it isn't something that we have access to. We don't know where you and your pets are at any given time. So, but it is a small radio frequency, and it's actually being used even with Alzheimer's patients in people. With people, they microchip in the webbing of your thumb. So for those that are unable to communicate their information about who they are, where they live, can be incredibly important. So for animals, the same thing, very similar, small, size the grain of rice, and all it is a radio frequency identification device, RFID, that is in a unique ID number that we can pick up with our wand scanner.
That's smart. I didn't even think about that with people. My son is he's nonverbal.
Oh, great.
Autistic, and you know, when he's older, you know, if he gets lost or something,
It could be super helpful. Yeah.
You can't communicate and say, "Hey, I live here" or anything like that. So that's.
I think they should. I mean, I know this from people, but I think they should have GPS into the actual tracker.
John, I think we lost you.
Yeah, I'm still here, guys. We're here. You can hear me. But there we go. It's my cord here. Sorry about that, guys. I think they should have GPS availability in the pets. It'd probably make your guys' job a heck of a lot easier. But because this I don't want the government. Come on, guys, get off it already. It's a pet, and the thing needs to be able to be. You need to know where he's at if he gets lost. And a side note, if you don't know already, with our cell phones, they're tracking us all the time, anyways. So you're not gonna get away. I'm sorry. That's just, anyways, a whole nother discussion.
Earlier, you said that when somebody brings their pet in for microchipping, that you give vaccinations. Was I correct in hearing that?
That is correct. So on our Wellness Wednesday and vaccine and microchip appointments,
Right.
you can make those directly on our website, as I said before, at volusia.org/animal services. We offer the distemper and rabies vaccine for both dogs and cats, and we have those microchips available as well.
And what other services do you do besides that?
So we really try to focus on a lot of the preventative things. Our primary goal is to keep people with their pets. And if there's any issue that would prevent them from separating from their pet, we want to try to provide a resource. So what we don't want to do is, I don't have a variety of services like you might expect at a private veterinary clinic, because we're not a private veterinary clinic.
Right.
We are here to service the needs specifically for those vulnerable people and pets in our community. So what other services are provided? If we have situations, as I mentioned before, where let's say a pet may have gotten hit by a car, or someone is suffering extreme financial need, and there's a life-threatening situation happening with those pets, we do evaluate those cases on a case-by-case basis and might be able to provide direct resources as well.
So if you hit it, and this is a dumb question, but whatever, because I had this situation where many years ago, and it really caused trauma for me. I hit a cat. It jumped out of a bush. And I felt horrible because, it was somebody's pet. I don't know if that cat. So if you hit an animal, what do you call? You just call Animal Services?
It's actually even a requirement in our ordinance for you to call.
So
You're supposed to just make the call to let us know that it happened, so that if in fact we can save it, we at least have an opportunity to do that. If we don't receive the call, well, then there's really no opportunity for us to help.
See, I didn't know because I was younger too, and I called 911. I'm like, look, I don't know who I'm supposed to call. I know it's not you guys. But I hit this cat, and it's dying, and right in front of me. I felt horrible. So what's the number you call in an instance like that?
That's 386-248-1777.
Same number.
Same number.
Okay.
So you can, or if you call 911, it'll still be routed to our central dispatch center, and they'll be able to get someone. Animal Services works 365 days a year, 24 hours a day, and we do treat injured animals as one of our highest acuity calls, because we don't want any pet who potentially is injured or is suffering, could have been hit by a car, could have been anything. I mean, pets get into a lot of precarious situations. We find them stuck in car engines and drain pipes and all kinds of different things. So we just want people to make the call, and we will make sure that we respond 24 hours a day.
That's great.
When you do these microchipping events, did you see a bigger turnout when COVID was around and they were bringing their pets in for vaccinations?
We saw a huge increase in the volume of calls, quite frankly, for resources. The most common thing that's asked for is pet food. And it's really challenging to be in a situation where you're choosing which kind of food you're buying for your family.
Mm-hmm.
You should have the resources to make sure that all of your family members have what resources they need. So yes, we have seen an increase in those asking for resources, particularly for food. But then, we have other things like preventable care. We have people who have like treatable skin problems with their pets. If you're bringing your pet in on one of those Wellness Wednesday appointments for microchipping and vaccines, and it happens to have something that we could quickly identify, diagnose, or treat, we might also be able to provide those services as well. Again, it's a case-by-case basis, but we want to just make sure that we're keeping the people with the pet. And that is one of the best ways to do that, is make sure that they get the resources they need to provide care.
Okay, this may be a ridiculous question, but are there any such things as vaccines for COVID for pets?
So there's some data out there. I'm not an expert when it comes to the COVID vaccine for pets or for people. I know I've read some literature about some development of some vaccines. I have not heard about any specific information that I would feel like I could provide any meaningful context to.
I probably should have asked first, is it possible for a dog or cat to catch the COVID from a human? Does anybody know?
Why not?
Well, one of the first cases that came out was in relationship to a dog, and the concern that I was made aware of in reading multiple articles and what we were sort of combing through at our boards is the school of thought was that this individual passed it to their pet, but then whether or not it came in contact with the nose, and was it actually that the pet had COVID, or if you cough, and you have COVID, you can have it on an inanimate object.
Right.
Was that inanimate object the dog's nose, or did in fact the dog have COVID? So, when you're swabbing and they're testing, can we say that the patient had it and which came first?
Right.
There's still a lot of discussions around that.
Still learning.
Wow.
With the decline of people having COVID and stuff, do you see a lot of people like returning pets to shelters and stuff because they're not home anymore?
Our shelters are over capacity on a good day, and it's quite unfortunate. I mean, take a guess. How many pets do you think, on average, are coming into all those shelters in a given year? How many would you say?
Oh my gosh,
11,000.
I was gonna say over 10,000. I would say for sure.
We're right at 6. So
But any number, honestly, it's too much. Is the problem?
it's a lot.
It is.
And when you think about them operating at capacity, what do they do when the next one comes in the door? What do you do when you have many more coming right behind you?
Yeah, I don't know.
So we really have to be proactive. We've got to have people like your listeners who might be interested in fostering.
Yeah.
So maybe some people don't want to make the commitment to the lifelong commitment to a pet. Maybe they just want to rehabilitate, and maybe they are able to do it now, but they've got a job that relocates them some other time. You can foster. You can even foster for Animal Services. We pay for all the food. We pay for all the veterinary care. We just want them to grow and get a little bigger for surgery and get them a little bit of care, and then they can go on to be adopted. We rely upon so many of our fosters so that those animals don't end up in the shelter. So that's one big way.
Think about that on a local level. If they were 6,000 local babies. You know what I mean?
Right. I know.
That's a lot. Again, I'm very proud of the fact. It's for whatever reason, every animal we've ever had, dog or cat, was a rescue. And it's like, why would I try and go to a breeder when there's these animals here that are beautiful animals that need, I guess that was just, not everybody thinks in that direction, but you should.
Right.
It's part of the reason why the problem still is perpetuated. We want to try to reduce that overpopulation, and one way to do that is sterilization on the front end. And then for those that do have to enter into the system, we want to try to figure out if there's other placement. Can we get them into a home? Can we even temporarily get them somewhere until we can find that permanent placement? Right. We want to be the bus stop of life for pets.
I like it.
Right. Well, it's certainly nice to know that Volusia County is so right on top of this thing. I'm amazed by some of the things that you've said, and we've actually run over our allotted time, but that's okay because this has been very informational and helpful to a lot of people, and it's great knowing all these things. And before we sign off, does your agency have any plans for any more upcoming microchipping and vaccination events?
Currently, we do want to make sure that people are coming through those Wellness Wednesdays, so those every Wednesday appointments. We're looking at doing one next quarter, so stay tuned. And we'll also be looking at providing pet food during that time as well. And do let us know if you or someone you know might need resources for your pet, or you're finding yourself in a bit of a challenging time. It happens to the best of us. If you find yourself in need of a dog house, we work directly with our corrections division. Our inmates actually build them directly for us. It doesn't cost taxpayers to do so, and they learn carpenter skills at the same time.
That's good thinking.
We're thinking outside the box and trying to get the resources to the pets. There is no request too big or small. If just call us, we want to make sure that you get the resources. And it may not be us that provides it, but we can connect you to where that resource exists in our community.
Can you give us a number that they can call?
They can call Animal Services at 386-248-1790.
Excellent.
It's good to know that there's you always have a net. You got somebody that'll help you.
You got someplace to go.
Yeah.
To get help.
It's good.
Or get
You're not
information.
there by yourself.
Takes the community.
Yeah. Well, Adam, thank you so much for coming on with us. This has been very, very helpful, very informational, very educational, and just thrilled that you were able to come on and that we could help publicize this information.
Yeah. Absolutely, guys. And I'd like to go ahead and once again thank today's sponsor, which is Country Inn and Suites by Radisson. After a day at the beach, head to the free laundry facilities here at Country Inn and Suites by Radisson and wash the sand and salt out of your swimwear. Relax at their outdoor pool when you want to break from sightseeing, or hold a family party on the patio, complete with a barbecue grill. If you need to prep for a meeting, visit the Business Center to take advantage of printing services. And in the mornings, you can fuel up for more Port Orange adventures at the free hot breakfast featuring the signature waffles at Country Inn and Suites by Radisson. Remember, guys, book your stay now at portorangeconnection.com/Country Inn and Suites.
Well, we want to thank all our listeners. Thank you, Phil, for you doing your great job over there. And we want to tell everybody keep listening because we're going to be always giving you the lowdown.